So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forward. So, this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Danny Mcallister, who's Managing Director at Simpson Wood Limited. So, firstly, Danny, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Simpson Wood, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for asking me along. I'm Danny Mcallister, Managing Director of Simpson Wood. We're an accountancy practice based in Huddersfield. We also have a separate financial services, financial advisory arm. We've got about 55 people in the team here, and we've been going since around 1880 originally.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
a long established business. And in terms of what we do, we obviously act for businesses and individuals. Our aim is to help them attain financial freedom. So whatever that might mean for them, working with them on their plans for the future, what they're trying to achieve, mainly with business owners, high net worth individuals, and things like that. Just looking at what their plans are and what their future holds.
Brilliant. Absolutely, absolutely wonderful. It's such an important thing to do because a lot, I find, obviously, I work with business owners too, that not being clear on what the future looks like and choosing to move towards it is can be a big challenge. They sort of just sit on a, if they're not careful, on a hamster wheel forever, just churning it around. Just to maybe help people that watching best, what would make a great client for you? What are the sort of best clients that you serve?
So they're sort of split into different categories, if you like. So obviously we have an audit arm, which you're there looking at large companies and groups which are sort of 20 to 100 million turnover size.
Yep.
From the financial advice side, it's high net worth individuals, or it might be people who've just got pension pots to invest. In total, we manage assets totaling over 400 million pounds.
Wow. Wow.
There's a lot of people there that we're investing money for. But then also your businesses, your sort of owner managed businesses could be sort of 5 to 15 million turnover. That's the sort of sweet spot where we can probably add the most value to them because of the sort of community of experts we have in house. It's where they need sort of quite a few of those together to help bring their plans to fruition. Really.
Absolutely, because I guess looking at plans when there's business, personal plans involved, it's bringing all that together, isn't it? And being able to look across it, because obviously a business can be a great vehicle for supporting wealth creation and
Yeah,
dare I say tax mitigation. I better not say that, but
no, tax planning definitely. I mean,
yeah,
this morning, point in case, I had a meeting with a client, and there were four of us around the table with him. There was a financial planner, there was a tax expert, there was someone who deals in wills, and there was myself as the accountant. And
brilliant.
just having people around the table rather than we'll tell you a bit, and then you go off to somebody else, and they'll tell you another bit. It's just a better service for the client being able to do all that together.
Brilliant. Couldn't agree more. And so, Donny, maybe if we look backwards to start with and ask you a little bit about your background, how you got into business and why this particular one for you.
So background, I was originally born in Barnsley. I was son of my dad worked at the steelworks in Stocksbridge. My
Brilliant.
mum was the secretary there before having me, and then I worked in all sorts of jobs, so covering tennis balls, dinner ladies, and all sorts. So grew up there up to the age of about 12, 13. Parents separated, and then obviously moved house at that point, and then sort of first generation of my family was to go to university. So beyond that, it then progressed into what do I want to be? I never knew at school what I wanted to be. You
Yeah.
don't sit 8-year-old thinking I want to be a chartered accountant. You get some funny looks, I think, if you did. But I was always good at with numbers, with maths.
Yes.
That was one of my strongest. And the assumption was that accountancy, that's what it was about, all maths. We might talk later about it's not all that, but
Yes. Yeah.
that's what I looked at when I was at university, University of York. I don't know if it still happens now. They had what's called the milk round,
Oh,
where
yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
firms of accountants used to go and pitch for their careers at undergraduate. So I went to a few of those, but then I decided I want to remain fairly local to where I lived and find a firm that I would have a long stint at, not just
Yeah.
sort of a first stepping stone. So it seemed to fit my skill set and what I wanted to join Simpson Wood 27 years ago, straight from university.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, and here I am 27 years later as MD.
Wow. So you've developed your career all the way through with Simpson Wood to now running the business.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the good things yeah, I think education is really important and training and what you put into people. And you look around our boardroom table now, and half of the board trained here straight from school or university.
Wow, wow.
We've got a number of staff who've been here over 40 years. So it's when people say sort of a family type firm or the business of family, you feel as though you know people over that period. You do get to
Goodness.
quite well, and you have a good relationship with your team then.
That's very, I mean, that's very impressive that so many of the board have come all the way up through. What either as MD now or as junior joining at the point through that process, what do you think are some of the secrets of retaining great people like you? I mean, you've got a business retaining amazing people that are now the seniors. What are some of the things
I mean, I would say it's harder now than it was.
Oh yeah,
You get less, not less loyalty, but there's less sort of people wanting to
yeah,
stay in the same job. People want often there's the desire to move around and try different
yes,
things, and people move around the country more. So you're never going to get the same length of service that you had in the
yes,
past. But I think providing a good place to work and treating people well is it's do the basics right first. Um, yes, there's always going to be things around remuneration and packages and things like that. As long as you're not, as long as you can keep up with the competition on that one, if you can offer the difference of treating people well and what's becoming increasingly important is work-life balance.
yeah,
People appreciate that. I'm not saying we were the sort of ones steaming ahead and being pioneers of that, but it's something that I think all firms now have to have some nod towards. We're not a firm that was ever going to say you can work 100% from home, I don't think.
yeah,
And then part of the reason for that is what I've just spoken about in terms of the training of staff.
yes,
Difficult to do things to do remotely. You can't do it
yeah,
because I'm a big believer in that so much happens by absorption.
yeah,
If you're in the room with somebody,
yeah,
listen to somebody on a telephone or speak with a client, you just naturally begin to
yeah.
understand that, which you don't really do as part of a course or on a Zoom call or a
No.
team call with somebody. There's so much that you learn just by being in the room with somebody.
No, I completely agree. There's so much you just hear things happen, and then you see interaction between two people where it's not necessarily you've heard it and it's right or wrong. It's but somebody's gone good job or oh I think you could. Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I think what's interesting about COVID. I mean, what COVID did was accelerate that process because I'm sure it was going to happen over time. But now it's here. It's accepting that it is the new world of people expect some element often of remote working, but it's a not necessarily completely remote working. But how do we keep things like just that sociability, isn't it, or of people feeling like they're in a team? Because if I'm just working from home, I can work from home for anybody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If you're just, I mean, someone once said to me, well, if everybody can work 100% from home, why don't we just outsource it all to India?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What's the team? What's about the team ethos of having a team here?
Uh,
It's just people
yes.
working totally independently and then not having any input from anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fascinating. No, I mean that's a hell of a track record for the organisation to have so many people come through and stay to be seen. It's wonderful. So, looking back over your tenure, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome as you grow?
um, I mean, in terms of the challenges I've had, the biggest one we referred to it just then with COVID. I think anybody who's been in business or been a leader of a business in that period, I think it's a massive impact.
Yes.
It impacts different businesses differently, but sitting in that room just over 5 years ago, taking a decision to close the office and furlough staff, that was unprecedented. That was even more than happened in the war, to be frank.
Yeah.
The office that went up when the war was happening. When COVID happened, the office completely shut and everybody was on furlough. It was huge, and I think you you have to take the decisions quickly,
Yeah.
but then it was a case of right. Let's look at taking stock regularly and saying right, what can we do? How can we improve? Keeping in touch with the staff was
Brilliant.
that was one of the biggest things because we had some members of staff, some of the team who lived alone. in
Yeah,
in properties that didn't have a garden necessarily. It's for their mental health sort of thing. You've got to make sure that you're keeping in touch with them because they
absolutely,
value that interaction with other people.
absolutely.
So that was part. I think beyond COVID, there's always you have to overcome sometimes, particularly when you've trained up through an organisation, you end up being somebody's boss who used to be yours, and that's quite a jump. Um,
It's
and also,
interesting.
I've had clients and things who are older than you and more experienced than
Yeah,
you. There's a bit of an imposter syndrome that sort of kicks in terms of I'm not sure if I'm out of my depth or something like that. Um, and I think what you learn is that by the time if you plan properly for meetings and you don't try and wing it, that when you walk into that meeting, then you know more than anybody else in that meeting normally about
brilliant.
what you'll be asked about. And
Yeah,
as long as you prepare properly for it,
yeah,
yeah, and you don't try and blag it is the other thing.
yeah.
Is that if you don't know the answer, you just be honest and say, "I'm not sure on that one. I'll come back to you and tell you for certain, but I need to
Perfect.
check it." Nobody expects you to be the oracle on everything. People will understand if you need to go and check something.
And I 100% agree, and I think it is actually an advantage to do that in terms of it's actually showing respect to the person you're talking to, isn't it? I can, if I blag it, I'm disrespecting you. If
Yeah,
I say, look, great question, I don't have the answer, I'll go and find out. I'm giving respect, and I think that builds trust. I think very strongly.
yeah. And the danger is you blag it, you'll get it wrong sometimes.
That's right, yeah.
I think
Absolutely,
the worst.
absolutely get found out, don't you? I mean, it's
Yeah,
like, yeah. And there's just no need because you say no
yeah.
one's expecting us to be perfect, be the perfect guru. There, there's so much information in this world. In fact, I remember a story about Tony Benn, Lord Ben. After he'd retired, he'd go and he'd speak a lot at universities, at educational establishments, and he'd always start his speech with, "We all wake up in the morning knowing less than we did yesterday." And of course, he's in all the lecturers go, "You can't say stuff like that. We're teaching people. We're trying to give them knowledge." And for me, what he meant was there's so much more information built every day that our percentage of it is just reducing. And it's a great point, isn't it? We can't know everything.
No, I mean, just in our own sector, to try and know every bit of tax
Yeah,
legislation, auditing standards, accounting standards would be impossible
yeah,
without having to refer to them.
absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of learning in general, what are the biggest? Now, and obviously, you're running a business yourself and growing it. You work with people that are running and growing businesses. What are your biggest learnings about running and growing businesses?
Um, I mean, I think it's the values that you operate under really that always come back to me is that you treating people well and equally
Yeah.
and with respect, not falling out with people. I've had clients leave and come back to me, so you don't try and fall out with people when they leave.
Yes.
You leave on good terms and just how you'd want to be treated really. And all value everybody's contribution. Whether that be the person who builds most of the firm or the person who cleans up at the end of the day. Everybody's got the role to play, and
Yeah.
more valuable than the other, or more worthy. You've got to treat everybody with the
Yeah.
same amount of respect.
That makes sense. I do a lot of work with clients around values because a lot, values and culture because I've come to believe that good relationships come with a match of goals. We both want to achieve, both want to achieve the same thing. But great relationships come with a match of values. We both think that the same things are important. And I actually think organisations of any type should both use them values as their key marketing messages. Because
Yeah,
then we attract like-minded people, and conversely, people that don't believe the same probably won't come on board, and that's a good thing, if that
yeah.
makes
I know
sense.
a colleague of mine, always says, a business relationship or a deal or whatever only works if it's beneficial on both sides.
Yeah, brilliant.
And I think that's probably one of the things that you learn is that it's got to work for both of you. And don't be afraid to sort of say to a client, this isn't the sort of client that we're after, but I can refer you to somebody else. Don't chase every single client because it might not be the right one for you. And the
100%.
reason why I've always shied away from the sort of I'll not name any of them, but some of the networking organisations is that there's sort of be a tendency of I will always refer any accountancy work to Mr. X.
Yes.
Well, that isn't the right person for that client. So I
Yeah.
would prefer to refer to the person who I think is the right fit for a client, rather than
Yeah, 100%.
the one who's going to refer me most or something like that. Um,
Completely agree, and I always suggest, that anyone, if I'm making a referral, is that they find two or three as well, and
yeah,
whether we refer,
yeah,
just say, look, it's not just what people do, it's the relationship you're going to build with somebody that's going to be important, and often it is long term. So it's like it's important that you get on. It's it's a bit nuts to have a transactional relationship without some sort of personal relationship. I think that goes with it. Yeah, absolutely. And you're probably aware we're a business coaching organisation, Danny. I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
yeah. I mean, in all honesty, I've never had a sort of business coach. Um, I've had sort of music tutors and then school teachers. So probably my biggest impact was probably my first primary school teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah, lady called Mrs. Porteous. She sort of sparked a love of learning and set me on course for the future, sort of thing. And it always seems odd for a primary school teacher. I never felt like she treated me like a child.
yeah,
Sort of seemed to give me a respect back, and so that's what I was saying. I mean, and the lovely thing, I still correspond with her on Christmas cards and things. So not seen her for decades, but she has such an
wow.
impact on me. It's great to sort of have her there, sort of thing. In that background, thinking, yeah, she was the one who set me on course for this.
That's wonderful. I think mine was Miss Lambourne. I seem to remember that was, had an impact on me too.
Yeah,
What a great point, and yeah, and the fact that you got that long-term relationship, you're obviously a man of long-term relationships. It's
yeah.
incredible. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, I mean, like you say about coaching, I think it is about learning everything. Yeah, one of my favorite sort of sayings is every day is a school day. You will
Yeah,
always learn something. If you make a mistake, learn from it.
yeah,
Just continue to learn, and you can learn and be inspired from all over the place. It might be
yes,
young people, it might be new business owners, it could be a friend who's had a tough time and got through it. You find that inspiration all over the place. You're just going to
yeah.
look for it and take it, and be inspired yourself by it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's so much, and just in business, I find, and I say to people that I work with, is just look, you have lots of, especially if we talk about marketing and selling. I say, look, we're marketing and selling to our clients. We're being marketed and sold to 1,000 times a day. So learn from the good stuff. What's the good stuff up there? What's the good customer service you receive, and how can we relate that to what we do? And
Yeah.
there's so much. I mean, obviously there's lots of educational learning you can do, but just living life is an education, isn't it? In many ways.
And I think also going outside what your immediate business is. Um, like I said, we're accountants and financial advisors. Yes, that's going to be the bulk of what we do. But engaging in with the community, with your local community,
Yeah,
with the youngsters, we've done a lot in terms of financial education. We've worked with football club in the town, so and done presentations to the players. We've done presentations to colleges on financial literacy.
brilliant.
It's within our area, but it's not something you know that we do for a reward. It's not something we get
No,
paid for. It's more educational. So it's doing that sort of work and getting involved in charities maybe that have nothing to do with people they're all looking for volunteers. I work organising a local music festival, and the
oh well,
enjoyment out of that, seeing kids up to age 21 playing musical instruments and singing, and it's amazing. So it's like I say, it's all inspiring. It all gives you different experiences and different viewpoints on things.
yeah. Uh, Brilliant. Absolutely. Absolutely fantastic. It's funny you say I interviewed a lady, I'm trying to think her first name, but it was a bit an organization called Fanfare Music. And they go into organizations and
Right.
of any time and teach them. She does a lot. There's obviously musical teaching, but also she does a lot of choral singing. So
Yeah,
she'll go into a business and create a choir,
yeah,
and it's just absolutely fabulous. So enthusiastic about what she does.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think what people have to remember is that all these are also opportunities for your business as well. You
yes,
know, not just,
absolutely.
you'll often find, we've been involved in charities and made connections and done things that's developed a business relationship out of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it,
so
it's
business can come from all different sources, and you just got to be aware of it.
Completely agree. I think, we made a decision of where, a very long time ago, and it part of it came to fruition during COVID, but we'll help anyone that needs our help. Even without being paid, because the money turns up somewhere else in some way somewhere else. If you do good stuff happens to you. I think, and I think it's that when we operate on those sorts of principles, we'll be way more successful than if we're just chasing the dollar just chasing the dollar doesn't it works in the short term, but I think the better long term strategy is for focusing on help.
Yeah.
Um, and whether it's from people that you've learned from or anything, but do you have any favorite quotes or sayings you have about business or success that you catch yourself using on a regular basis, Danny?
No, not particularly. No, no, no. Like I say, a lot of value sort of thing, the things that I do, but I want a particular quote or saying that's fixed in my mind or anything.
All good. Some people do, some people don't. It's yeah, it's a funny thing. Some people have loads, some people have none. It's just I collect them. It's just I love to hear different ones. So I was asked that question, and in a similar
One,
vein.
one, one thing somebody did once say to me that sort of stuck was, don't, don't set your own goals in relation to other people's.
Oh,
Always set your own goals. Don't look at somebody else's goal and try and achieve the same. Set your own goal that's different.
there you go. That's a cool one because it is like it's so easy to be referenced to other people, isn't it? And yet, I was actually speaking to somebody yesterday, and I can't remember. She was talking about be yourself. Be yourself. And the quote I got that I said to her because I just think it's lovely. A lady interviewed a few months ago, and she said, um, "Let me get it right. Yeah, always be yourself because everybody else is taken."
Yes.
And I just, yeah, that
Yeah.
just says it in a nutshell. It's like why are we striving sometimes to be somebody we're not when we can't really. And in a similar vein, is there any books or podcasts or training that you can recommend that helps people in whether it's business success, personal development?
No, no, not particularly. There's none that I've sort of followed religiously. You see things. I mean, things tend to come up now. Even more now
Yes,
with social media and things. Things pop up on LinkedIn. You'll try something out and just try a few different ones. Try
yeah,
different. Watch a few things. Some will interest you. It doesn't necessarily mean you've got to watch the whole series of it. You can
absolutely.
do, but yeah, you often just find yourself listening to 10 seconds and suddenly 3 minutes in, you're still listening to it, and
Yes, and
you find the subject matter interesting.
I completely agree, and I think it's often with a lot of things like podcasts, it's often the people being interviewed rather than interviewee that's the interest. Therefore, not every interview is going to be the one that's interesting, but it's sort of
Exactly,
cherry
yeah.
picking, I think, isn't it? Very much so. And sort of speaking of learning in a bit more detail, what would you say you've learned about yourself throughout your career so far, Danny?
I'm not sure whether this is, I would say to trust your gut more. And I don't know whether that comes with experience rather than just it always being there. But just in terms of when you meet potential clients, potential employees, potential suppliers, you've usually got a gut feeling whether it's going to work or not.
Yep,
Whether that person's going to fit into the team, whether it's going to be the right kind of client, um, and just to trust it and know your own value. Yeah. Also,
great.
if someone's just after you to batter your price down, sort of thing, know what the value of what your work or your goods or your services are, and don't follow the race to the bottom.
I couldn't agree more, I couldn't agree more. It's really important to value what we do because if we don't value ourselves, then no one else is gonna.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the
I
matter.
know, and also, especially when you've got a team of people working with you as well, it sort of diminishes what they do if you don't val if you're giving it away to a client and reducing the value of it.
Yes,
They just see that it's not worth what the effort they're putting in because we're just not getting anything for it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely agree. And looking forward a little bit, what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Um, I think the biggest one is probably the technological change and the pace
Yeah.
of it. Um, I mean, I've been in charge of IT here for 20 years. They're probably thinking now it won't be changing it now for someone younger, but I've seen how much has changed just in that 20 years.
Yes.
I remember a former tax partner who was viewing online tax returns. It was that'll never happen that way. I used to remember we used to fill the car boots with paper tax returns and deliver them to the local tax office. It's unbelievable. We haven't even got a local tax office now to deliver them.
Amazing.
I when I became IT partner, I introduced individual emails in the office, and a lot of people in this building won't believe the system that we used to have, where we had one email address, and that email got printed out and taken to the person. And
Oh my goodness.
you used to go back and somebody used to type the reply. But you're going back 20 odd
Yeah.
years. We didn't have mobile phones. They certainly didn't have internet on their phones. They didn't have internet on the machines, on the actual desktop machine. So yeah, I mean, the pace of that change seems to just get quicker. I think that's the thing, and
Yes.
with AI going forward, it's how to. Somebody once said to me, is AI going to replace accountants? And I think the answer is no. AI will replace accountants who can use AI will replace current accountants.
Oh, lovely. Great one.
It's
Brilliant.
learning how to use it and what to use it for, and making sure that you're containing it within certain parameters.
Perfect. That.
And I think also remembering that face-to-face contact, not letting tech overtake everything. We've talked about relationships and how important they are.
Yes.
Yeah, emails and text messages are so easy to misinterpret.
Oh, 100%.
Two different terms, and it completely changes the meaning of them. So, it has a place, and they are useful if you're trying to communicate a message to a lot of people at once, and you can't go around everybody face to face, but maintain face to face as much as possible.
You've hit a nerve for me in that one. I 100% agree. My belief, and it's been for quite a long time, is that text, i.e., whether that's email or whatever, should only be used for the transfer of data
Yeah,
or confirming of communication. But communication should be done by voice, by face to face. We've now got the ability on our phones to record voice messages rather than, and because text is so easily misunderstood because it's read, there's no tonality, so it's read in the mood of either the person reading it or the mood of the person we think who wrote it, if that makes sense. Are they angry? I think they're angry, therefore this is an angry text. But it was not an angry text. It's
and you read it. Well, no, they could mean it like this, and you say it a different way, and it's completely different.
100%. And it's so easy to do, and yet, there's still so many people will have long email conversations that turn into
Yeah.
email arguments.
And it is part of that thing of that absorption that we talked about earlier, and particularly, don't get me wrong, I'm not doing young people down, but I think it's the process that they went through COVID when they were learning and doing it all online. There's a tendency to text and email as opposed to, often you'll say to someone, just ring the client and ask them such and such. And then the day after, did you ring the client? Oh, I sent him an email.
Yeah.
Now, I asked to ring them because they want to speak to you. And I need you to speak. Understand
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And I think it's a big learning for everybody that text has got a place, but primarily for information. As I say, it can be used for confirming things. I say totally understand. The use of text, SMS messaging. But it's not really conversation. I mean, I suppose, and in fact, I remember, conversations I've had with my daughters where they've said, "Well, I think they're upset with me because they've texted me that," and I go, "Well, you could say that, or you could say, here's another different way they could be saying it. Here's a positive with a light tone of voice. That sounds totally different, and it's." Oh goodness, yes. No, we're going off on one. So
it's called misunderstanding. I think my mother used to think that LOL was lots of love on a text, not rather than laugh out loud. It's completely different meaning if you send it to somebody who's just lost a relative or something like that.
Yeah, I think it actually happened. I think it's have a feeling, and it's like absolutely. It's just like let's get back to a bit more basics. But 100% agree with you on that one. And I'm really keen to know what you'd say to anyone that was thinking of going to business right now, Danny.
I think you've got to find a business that engages you, that you enjoy.
Great.
Yeah, I suppose I'm in a slightly different position to some of the people that you're interviewing. That I didn't found this business, I didn't create this business. It's been going since 1880. I am the latest custodian of this business.
Fabulous.
It's one of those things that I want to be able to pass it on to the next person who can then take it
Yeah,
forward.
great.
But each person who's here changes it, evolves it, and adapts it for the time that it's in.
Brilliant.
but hopefully it keeps going. And it's just finding one that you engage with. You know, when I when I started here, I met the was it the grandson of one of the founders of the firm, sort of thing. And you
Wow.
know, understanding the if you're going into a business, excuse me, understanding the values and why it's there and what its purpose
Yeah.
has been over the years. And you know, one of the key things of this business has always been its relationship with its clients, its good clients
Yes.
relationships, and yeah, a lot. We talked about the members of the team who've been here long amounts of time. Yeah, and we've got clients as well who have been with
Yeah.
this for decades
Yes.
and for generations. Uh, and that's because we're obviously doing something right, and
Yeah.
they value the service that we provide for them, and so it's just keeping that going forward, really.
That's fascinating. Obviously you've if we could just bottle your secret of longevity, longevity of relationships with team and with clients, that's wonderful. There's obviously something really fundamentally, sticky they call it now, don't they?
Yeah.
Stuff be sticky, but there's
One of the things that we referred to earlier as well, in terms of clients that fit and
yes,
it's got to work for both parties. I think when you start a business or when you get to a certain position in a business and you're looking for new clients and things like that, you chase everything you can. There's
yes,
a natural tendency that
100%
chase
agree.
everything I can and try and find as many clients and hit a target or whatever. Um, that's not going to serve you well because you'll spend a lot of time on the poor clients that you've gained in that time when you'd be better served using that time to get the better clients. So don't chase the ones that aren't the right fit.
Again, 100% we're 100% love it. No, at this point, as it has happened, I visually get the image of the client I chased, and knowingly they were going to be a terrible client, and
Yeah,
still agreeing. And look, I mean, the only still can see them with clarity. I've luckily over time managed to forget the name. I don't know why. I used to remember the name as well, but I can't remember. But it's just like my nightmare. It happened plenty of times, but that was the one. That was the one. Honestly, knowingly going in, it was like knowingly going into a den of lions and wondering why you get torn to shreds. That's
again, if you get poor clients, um, yeah, the impact that has on the team then, if it's a poor client who has poor
couldn't agree
record
more.
or who creates it, it's a hell of a job to do. It's really difficult. You're
Yeah,
not getting paid well for it. It doesn't value the members of your team either because you're expecting them to work for a poor client.
couldn't agree more. A lot of our clients, we work with a lot of clients on this, and a lot of them have significantly increased their qualification process for clients. So it's literally one of them's got like a 4-page questionnaire, and that sounds excessive, but it's literally we're going to ask these questions to make sure we can serve you best. So we
Yeah,
position it very strongly for the client, but it's like it's sensible that we understand better how we might work.
yeah,
And it's worked really well. And I remember, yeah, one client, and it actually did it then with his clients, existing clients, and found that there was several that weren't a
yeah,
good fit, and ultimately put the prices up because clearly they would, there was a cost of dealing with them.
yeah.
And I remember the client saying to our client, "Yeah, totally get you put your prices up." He said, "I know." I said, "I know I'm really difficult to work with, but please stay with me because you're my last hope." It's like there's no one else to deal with them, and it's like, and so
That's the
yeah,
danger. You try and address it by putting the price up and they stay with you.
absolutely. Well, we sort of say, look, we call them C grade clients, and we call C's can't deal with. They literally are those difficult clients, and we say put their prices up, uh, and one or two things will happen. They'll leave because the price has gone up, and that's great for them because they probably are going to take loss with them. Often C grade clients are loss making. The worst, the bet. Or if not, they'll pay the price, and they'll at best be probably a B grade client, a B, but they will be paying for themselves. Whereas where they are at C at the current rate, they're not paying for themselves, and
Exactly, yeah.
it's just a sensible thing to do. And the relationship is they don't like us either, so it's not like we're saying goodbye to somebody that likes us. We're just saying goodbye to somebody that we. I always say we C grade clients. We have to work out how we manage to recruit them in the first place because they don't like us, we don't like them. It's like let's just call it quits and move
Yeah.
on. Um, Brilliant. And finally, Danny, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you go back in time and do that?
Um, not if I go back in time. If I was 18 now,
Yeah.
maybe that's what I can answer. if I was a
Okay.
young man now, I wouldn't go to university probably. Um,
Yeah.
and I love my time at university, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the way it works now, with all the debt that you'd come out with and the other routes you would have to come into this profession, I don't think it would be worth it. And I think there's a serious conversation that's going to have to be had about what's going to happen there. Because
Agreed.
when apprenticeships are then coming along, that where you can get to that. I mean, I know there are certain professions you'll still need to have a degree for, like becoming a doctor and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. You bang on.
But yeah, it's an awful lot of debt.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot of pain. And I think as an accountant, value for money wise, having an eldest son who's at university at the minute, which it's a case of what they actually get for the money. I don't think it's particularly good value for money.
Yeah, I agree. I have to say, I agree. I agree with you. I think this, and I think the education system does need a proper review. It's 100 or so years old now, and it's almost been the same thing for that long.
I think
And
there's too much pushing for university from sixth
yeah,
form colleges as well. Why are we pushing everybody to university when there's good apprenticeships out there? We take ours on as apprentices now.
brilliant,
We
brilliant.
it's very rare we take a graduate on. We tend to take more apprenticeships on.
And I don't know about you, but a graduate going to college was more, was. Yeah, there was lots of ways I could have learned more and contributed more. If I'm perfectly frank, it was great fun, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. But
I had a great time, and it was in terms of lessons for life and independence and independent living. It probably let me off a lot. But the issue now is that people are going to university and living at home because of the cost,
yeah,
and they're not even getting the life skills side of it.
yeah,
They're just getting the debt.
yes, yeah, yeah. I completely agree. And I don't know about you. I was lucky enough to be grant funded, so I was like,
I was one of the early student loans, so it might have been 3,000 a year, something like that. I think which it wasn't for fees; it was the living student loan for living sort of thing. But so yeah, it was
it, it,
9,000. I think by the time I came out.
yeah, and it's just not. It's just I was lucky in my respects. I totally appreciate that, and but yeah, no, great point. Wait, Danny, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fascinating talking to you, and I can see we're aligned in so many things about business. And just for anyone that's watching that would like to get in touch with you or Simpson Wood, what would be the best way of doing that?
The website is simpson-wood.co.uk. You can search for us on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn if anyone wants to speak with me personally. Um, yeah, we're on the firm's on Facebook, Instagram, and things like that. If anybody wants to connect with those.
Brilliant. Well, say thank you so much for your time today. It'd be great to swing by another 6, 12 months and get some more learning from you. But for now, thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Chris. Been good talking to you.
Yeah, me too.